watching True School Sports.
To me, it's not a 50-50 fight. I'm the better fighter.
He's been compared to a young Mike Tyson and is convinced that he will unify those titles.
Don't get my cockiness confused with my confidence. I'm a very confident fighter. I prepare to be confident the way I am, and don't get it mixed up.
This week in Boddington's country, Florida's finest has been in no hurry to make himself at home.
How you doing?
Smiling small talk? Forget it. Every look, every syllable has been laced with intent and attitude.
Thank you.
I'm gonna knock him out.
Simple as that.
Simple as that. I didn't come over here for no decision. I came over here to knock him out.
He's gonna have all the belts Saturday night, I guarantee it. And Joe will be on his back.
I see 168-pound Mike Tyson. When he ducks under those ring ropes, everybody's heart beats, and he is the single most successful.
Someone I idolized was Floyd Mayweather. A lot of Floyd, a lot of Mike Tyson.
The untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, this is a bit of a special video. You know, Vasyl Lomachenko, Teofimo Lopez, October 17th. It's going to be a mega fight. It is. No, there is no probably. This is the biggest fight of the year. I will be live for it on True School Sports, so you will get a live fight reaction. But in this particular video, we're going to focus on – I want to specify before I even carry on more with this video, I want to specify that not my official prediction. This is not the outcome that I think is going to happen in the fight. This is just me making a video talking about an alternate outcome of what could potentially happen. I believe Teofimo Lopez will beat Lomachenko. I believe he'll punch a hole through Lomachenko. I believe he'll fold him up like a blue steel chair. I made that very clear on many occasions. I'll make it clear here in the first minute of this video. But, you know, the closer this fight is drawn near, I've heard a lot of people within the boxing community say that this fight reminds them a lot of, you know, Joe Calzaghe versus Jeff Lacy. And that was a fight that took place in the 2000s. That was a fight where, you know, you had Joe Calzaghe, who was, you know, who was a good champion coming into that fight. He was a guy that was a southpaw, had exceptional boxing skills, and he was taking on a young American prospect who there was a lot of hype on. He was not, and that prospect was Jeff Lacy out of Tampa, Florida, out of the mean streets of St. Petersburg, Florida, training at the St. Pete Boxing Club, one of the most underrated gyms in the world. You know, he was training there, and he was a favorite going into that fight. He was knocking everybody out there, comparing him to a young Mike Tyson, all this stuff. He had all this hype coming in, and Joe Calzaghe was the more experienced, more technically sound, fundamentally sound boxer. And he in that particular fight, he put on a masterclass performance, and he beat Jeff Lacy so badly that Jeff Lacy after that fight was never the same. He never mentally recovered from that loss in that particular fight. And I mean, I think it's fair to say Joe Calzaghe pretty much ruined the career of Jeff Lacy. He did. So a lot of people that I've been talking to have been telling me, BC, and it's not just people that want Lomachenko to win. It's actually like really smart, intelligent boxing people that whose opinions I actually value. They say, BC, this fight's going to be just like Joe Calzaghe versus Jeff Lacy, which I don't agree with. But after watching Joe Calzaghe versus Jeff Lacy, I do think there are some similarities going into the fight. You know, Lomachenko, southpaw, Calzaghe, southpaw, Lacy, explosive, hyped up American prospect with great punching power from the state of Florida. Teofimo Lopez, explosive, power puncher, hyped up prospect from the state of Florida, not Brooklyn, even though he wants to say he's from New York. He's from Pembroke Pines, Florida. He trained Davey Powell. There's a lot of similarities. And, you know, I just think if Lomachenko or if Lopez isn't able to hit Lomachenko on anything too hard in this fight, and it comes down to technical boxing skills, I think he can have some success, but I really think this is a fight where for him he's gonna have to hurt Lomachenko early to win this fight, and I think he's gonna do it. That's why I'm picking him to win. But there's definitely some similarities going into the fight between those two.
And I'm fighting a genuine fighter, a hard fighter, and a fighter who's on the way up.
We're the two biggest names in the super middleweight division.
This is the first fight I've ever been in where I've had something else to gain. Jeff Lacy's ABF belt.
Let's put it all on the line and let's do it. If you look at his fights, you wouldn't call him a slapper?
I don't think he's nothing spectacular. To me, it's not a 50-50 fight. I'm the better fighter.
I haven't been beaten. I'm gonna knock him out. This is the stardom for me. This is where it all begins.
This is not a money fight for Joe Calzaghe. This is for my boxing. This is career-defining fight, and this is, you know, testing myself.
It's only me and him, and that's what it all gonna boil down to.
If I go in that ring and fight my fight, I'll win.
It's Judgment Day at Manchester's MEN Arena. Two unbeaten world champions face a rare unification fight. A 16,000 crowd have come in from a freezing night. The fight is going live coast to coast in the United States. Joe Calzaghe is the longest reigning British world champion in history. It's 8.5 years since he beat Chris Eubank to win the WBO super middleweight crown. This is the career-defining contest that the unassuming Welshman has been yearning for. It's the 18th defence for the 33-year-old southpaw. Jeff Lacy, from the mean streets of St. Petersburg in Florida, is the IBF champion. Left hook Lacy arrived in England a week before the fight. He was brash and very confident, calling Calzaghe a slapper and predicting a knockout.
All right, so when we talk about Teofimo Lopez versus Vasyl Lomachenko, the mega fight that is, and we compare it to an old mega fight between Joe Calzaghe and Jeff Lacy. And by the way, it was a mega fight. For those of you who say that, oh, that wasn't a mega fight, you know, then you just don't know anything about boxing, because that was a big fight. That was a fight where Jeff Lacy was a betting favorite, not just in America, but even in the UK. A lot of people thought Jeff Lacy was going to run right through Joe Calzaghe, punch a hole straight through him. That didn't happen. Joe Calzaghe beat him from pillar to post, outboxed him, painted a masterpiece, and ruined him for the rest of his career. He was never quite the same after the Joe Calzaghe fight. And I think people who, if you ask them about Jeff Lacy, they'll say he was a talented fighter. They'll say that, you know, he was a destructive force in the early parts of his career, but that he proved to be a hype job. And there's some people out there that think that Lopez is a hype job. They don't believe the hype in Lopez. And what I find interesting when you compare and contrast these fights is that Lacy was in a much later stage of his career than Teofimo was. Lacy was like 20. He was pushing 28, 29, 30 years old. He was in his late 20s. As to where with Teofimo, I mean, he's young. He's green. He's still a pup in the game. He's like 22, 23 years old. But the mindset of people that are picking Lopez is that people like myself, we think that he's mature and he fights well beyond his years. This isn't your regular 22, 23, 24-year-old. This kid is special, you know. Not to say that he's as great as Floyd Mayweather, because I don't think he is, but he's got that Mayweather-esque factor about him to where he's fighting way beyond his years. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, this fight is just so it's so interesting to compare and contrast these fights, because when we talk about Lomachenko and Calzaghe was a guy that did not fight the opposition. And I'm a Joe Calzaghe fan. That's one of my favorite boxers. But Calzaghe, at the point he had fought Jeff Lacy, had not fought the opposition that Lomachenko's fought. You know, that's actually a big criticism people have of Joe Calzaghe, is that, you know, it took him forever, you know, to fight somebody. And that they had a witness protection program going on in the UK over there in Wales of him fighting nondescript, subpar, cannon fodder opposition. So in that regard, you could say it's different. Obviously, Calzaghe validated himself in a major way as his career progressed with this fight, with the Hopkins fight, and with the Roy Jones fight, and he retired undefeated. You know, he had the storybook career, you know, for anybody in boxing. But when we look at this fight, Joe Calzaghe did not have the amateur experience Lomachenko had, which, in a way, I think it's not fair to compare this fight to that fight, because Joe Calzaghe, you know, my bad, Lomachenko, he has almost 400 amateur fights. He was fast-tracked to a world title. He was fighting top-level fighters, second, third, fourth fight, you know, world champion, second, third, fourth fight. There's a lot of top sparring he had to have for those fights. There's a lot of preparation that goes into those fights. There's a lot of wear and tear on the body that goes into those fights. As where, you know, Joe Calzaghe, not saying he didn't have wear and tear on the body, but I don't believe it was at the same level as a Lomachenko, because to go through and achieve what he's achieved in boxing, the way he's achieved it in boxing, it requires a certain level of wear and tear on the body. And I know the mindset that we've already seen the best Lomachenko, you know. I don't think he's going to fight any better than he did against Nicholas Walters or Mariaga or Jason Sosa or Jose Pedraza or even Jorge Linares. And speaking of that Jorge Linares fight, Jorge Linares and Teofimo Lopez, I think there's some stylistic similarities between the two. I just think that Lopez is much more explosive. He's much more athletic than Linares. He's a better puncher than Linares. He's got better timing than Linares. And on top of that, I believe that he believes in himself more than Linares does. A lot of people say Teofimo's cocky, he's this, he's that, all these things. But no, I don't think Teofimo's cocky. I think that what he says, he believes, and it will come to pass. But people in boxing, a lot of people whose opinions and boxing perspectives that I respect and value have told me, BT, this fight between Lomachenko and Lopez is going to be just like when Joe Calzaghe fought Jeff Lacy. Lopez is too green, he's too experienced. Lomachenko's going to box circles around him. He's going to fold him up like a blue steel chair. He's going to ruin him for the rest of his career, and it's going to be that kind of a performance. And I just find that very interesting. Now, when we talk about Lacy and Calzaghe, I want to paint a picture for you guys so you guys understand what Jeff Lacy was at the point in time that Joe Calzaghe fought him.
Exciting fighter in all boxing.
In the 80s, we had Hagler and Hearns and Sugar Ray. In the 90s, we had Ben, Eubank, McClellan. This fight represents a lot in terms of history, doesn't it?
Of course. This is the stardom for me. This is where it all begins.
Defining fight?
Of course.
Thanks very much, Jeff.
He's ready to go. He's always ready to go.
He better be this weekend.
Oh, he's ready. They better be ready. He's ready.
Joe says he's not been happy about some of your comments. You've called him a slapper, and you've said he's tried to dodge you.
Yeah. Well, what are you saying? I mean, it's if you look at his fights, you wouldn't call him a slapper. I mean, it's something that everybody knows. You know, as a fighter, I see it, and he should see it too. I didn't say every one of his shots are slapping. I say he slaps.
Are you saying he can't hurt you?
I didn't say that, but you know what? If he do hurt me, I have the will to come back.
So, if you look at the career of Jeff Lacy, look at his last couple of fights before Joe Calzaghe. Now, he fights Joe Calzaghe in 2006, March of 2006. He's fighting Joe Calzaghe. A couple of fights before that, he got a victory, which I think was very significant for his career. Because anybody that knows anything about the career of Joe Calzaghe knows that one of the toughest fights of his career was against Robin Reed. A lot of people would even go as far as to say that Robin Reed was robbed. You know, that Robin Reed was the victim of a gift decision that went in favor of Joe Calzaghe. You see what I'm saying? So, you know, Jeff Lacy, he fought Robin Reed and he scored a major victory. He stopped him in the 7th round. And that was a big feather in his cap going into that fight with Joe Calzaghe. You see what I'm saying? And, you know, like, he was looked at to be one of the most destructive forces in boxing. He was, you know, you guys heard it in the beginning of this video. You guys heard Gary Shaw and Dan Birmingham hyping this dude up, talking about he's the 168-pound Mike Tyson. You know, he's this, that, you know, and Calzaghe beat the shit out of him. Pillar to post. And the funny thing is, they were calling Lacy the 168-pound Mike Tyson. Teofimo Lopez will tell you himself, and you guys saw that clip as well. One of his favorite fighters was Mike Tyson. So I mean, there's parallels there, you know. And listen. I could be dead wrong, and I want to say this again so people don't think that and misconstrue what I'm saying. I don't think that this is gonna play out. I'm just spitballing here. I'm talking to you guys about it because I've been having people tell me this for like months now, and I decided to do a whole video about it. You know, I don't think Vasyl Lomachenko is going to beat Lopez in the way that Calzaghe beat Lacy. He might beat him. It's possible. He's talented enough to do it. You know, you don't write Lomachenko off. But I can't see it. You know, Lopez is too big, too strong. I think he's got just the right amount of experience as an amateur and pro to go in there and fold them up. Now, I'll be honest with you. You guys know if you watch my videos, I've talked a whole lot of shit about this fight, going all the way back to the early parts of 2019, maybe even late 2018. I talked a lot of shit about this fight when Teofimo was still a prospect, when he hadn't even fought for a world title, before he even fought in an eliminator. You know, I was talking shit about this fight. If he would have fought him back then, maybe I would have delusionally came on here and said that I thought Lopez would have won. But if I was being real with myself, I think I would have said Lomachenko would win, because Lopez just didn't have that experience at that time. But now he's gotten that experience. You know, he had some good rounds with Edis Tatley. You know, he had the struggles against Nakatani. He had a fight where he was going in as not an underdog, but a guy that people were doubting against a tough fighter, Richard Comey. A lot of people didn't even know what Lopez would do against Comey. He blew him out of the water. He folded him up. He folded him up like a blue steel chip, like The Rock and Chris Jericho. He got him out of there. He swept him up like some potato chip breadcrumbs on the floor. It was easy work for him. And so the good thing about Lopez is, if he had fought Lomachenko when I first started really talking about this fight on YouTube, you know, that would have been a Lopez that didn't experience the highs and lows of boxing. That would have been a Lopez that basically didn't have the quality experience to deal with a guy like Lomachenko. But now he's gone through that. Now he's gotten those valuable rounds in the bank. He's gotten the valuable experience of going through the highs and lows of boxing. And on top of that, while he was going through the highs and lows of boxing, Lomachenko was getting older. Lomachenko, you know, he fought Luke Campbell in a tough fight. And on top of that, Lomachenko hasn't fought in well over a year. And if you want to ask the question of who does a layoff favor more, does it favor the younger guy or the older guy? I think the layoff favors the younger guy more in this case, more than it does the older guy. Because the older guy, while he might know how to fight his ass off and has tons of experience, you don't got to teach Lomachenko how to fight. You know, the reality is it might take him longer to get started. And if it takes him longer to get started and Lopez decides to go in there and blitz him and hits him with a big shot, you know, will he be able to recover from it? You know, I think the fact that Lomachenko has been on a layoff over a year plus, you know, it's gonna make him more vulnerable in the early rounds. If he was sharp, if he was boxing constantly, he was having, you know, more fights often, you know, I think he'd be just fine. But, you know, in a situation like this, in a scenario like this, I think it favors the younger guy. I think it favors the guy that's fresher, who's younger, who doesn't have much punishment, and that's what it is. Now, I'm gonna bring up one more thing in the video in regards to Lopez. Shout out to my man Felipe. I was talking to my man Felipe when I was out in Texas recently, and Felipe was saying that one thing that's going to work against Teofimo Lopez in this fight is that the fact that there's no crowd. And I hadn't really put much thought into that. I hadn't really thought about how a crowd could affect this fight, or no crowd could affect this fight. Because believe it or not, guys, there are fighters in boxing that do feed off the crowd more than others. You know, and I don't know if Lopez is one of those guys, but I know that the crowd is definitely an asset for him. I know that the crowd, he loves the crowd, and it gives him the extra boost. As to where Lomachenko, you know, could you say no? Even Lomachenko is like that, so I don't even know why people said that. But I think Lomachenko is I think Lomachenko's the same way, because the same way Teofimo does his backflips and does the Fortnite dances, you know, for every Teofimo Lopez Fortnite dance or backflip you've seen him do, you know, there's been Lomachenko taunting his opponent. There's been Lomachenko, you know, taunting Miguel Mariaga, walking him back to the corner and then dropping him. You know, there's been him against all these other fighters just taunting him whichever way he wanted to taunt them. So they're both fighters, I think, play to the level of the crowd. I think in this fight, what it comes down to is who's going to be more focused, who's going to be more switched on the night. And I believe it'll be Teofimo Lopez. I believe that he's got a point to prove, and we'll see what happens. But I can definitely see the similarities of this fight between Joe Calzaghe and Jeff Lacy and Lopez Lomachenko, because they are there. The style-wise, they are there. Although I will say, style-wise, while Lopez is a hard puncher and Lacy is definitely a hard puncher, Lopez is more athletic. There's more dexterity, which basically means there's more flexibility and there's more fluidity and more dexterity to his punches, meaning that he could punch you from different angles. That's the way Lacy didn't have that kind of looseness to him. Lopez has that kind of looseness to him. So that's what it is. But I want to hear from you guys out there. I want to hear, what do you think? Do you think that this fight will play out anything like Joe Calzaghe versus Jeff Lacy? Because that seems to be a popular opinion within the boxing world, within the boxing community, within the boxing industry. You know, I had Rick Glazer tell me that. I've had a number of people tell me, hey, BT, I know Teofimo's your guy. I know you're from South Florida, allegedly. I know he's from Davy Powell, but you know, Lomachenko's in a box service round. So I want to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. And yeah, we'll definitely have a lot of coverage here on True School Sports as we progresses. We'll be covering the whole undercard. So I'll be making some videos with the undercard fighters. The live fight reaction will be happening soon. On the day of the fight, so make sure you guys make your plans for that and be here with me before, during, and after the fight. And yeah, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think this fight will play out like Lomachenko, like Calzaghe versus Lacy? And if so, let me know how many rounds you think Lomachenko wins. And if not, let me know how you think Lopez beats Lomachenko. I want to hear from everybody out there. So leave your comments down below. Make sure you take the time to subscribe. And like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just here from Daniel. So until next time, take care, guys.
Yo, we want that strap. You know, you got to give it to us. You know, so we might even get those 2 gold medals they gave him in the amateurs. You know,
he might
put that in the contract.
He might have to come up off those and just hand them over to you.
Exactly, man. What are you gonna do with 2 gold medals? You can't even look at them anymore after you get knocked out by my son. So, you know,
yeah,
it's gonna be ugly, bro. It's gonna be ugly. You know, once we get rid of all that shit he does, bro, it's over. It's over.
Target practice. Target practice.
Exactly.
Do you guys like?
Don't understand, bro. When you get hit with those punches that my son hits you with, bro, your whole style changes.
Yeah, he changes everything about you.
Man, I can't wait, man. I see it so clearly, bro, that I don't understand why freaking people that are more experts than me in boxing can't see it. You understand? It's just weird. It's weird. And I've been saying this to my son since he was like 13, 14, when he was beating up a freaking on world champions at the age of 13, 14, 15 in sparring. You know, I knew it from then. And we always see people were like, oh my God, I can't believe this guy's a champion, bro. Like for real, you know. Yeah. So right now it's a takeover. That's why they call us a takeover, because we're taking over boxing. You know, my son is the most talked about boxer right now. And especially now that he took this fight, he's gonna get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm here to protect him, to be with him, to make sure that he doesn't get hurt in the ring. That is my job as a father and as a coach. Peace, man. Love everybody. The takeover is for real.
The takeover. There you go.
The takeover is real, baby.
That's a fact. Let's go.
You about the only smart guy that I know, bro. Nobody knows shit about boxing.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, I've been trying to tell him. Take care, man.
Let's go, champ. It's the champ, Shannon the Cannon Briggs, and you're watching True School Sports. Let's go, champ.